Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of Pro Wrestling Defined. And please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And speaking of YouTube, my guest on the show today has his own YouTube channel, Chuck of All Trades. You can find that on YouTube. Former WWE, WCW superstar, former tag team champion, Chuck Palumbo. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today?
Doing great, man. It's awesome to have you on the show. So tell us, what are you up to these days, and tell us about the YouTube channel.
So I appreciate you mentioning the channel. It's Chuck of All Trades on YouTube. Basically, it's just an extension of myself. I'm having the opportunity to show people what I do on a regular basis. And these are things I've done all my life, everything from home restoration to car builds to motorcycle builds, all kinds of stuff. I grew up in the trades. I grew up in the automotive trade. I grew up in the building trades. So, life skills I've learned, and I like sharing them. I like sharing people. I like sharing with people, and that's it. So, it's easy. It's fun. It's nothing fancy, but we get in there and we do the work ourselves. And again, we just enjoy sharing that with people. And then, if we can inspire a few people, maybe if you watch it, maybe the next thing you know, you'll be, painting your car or remodeling your kitchen. Who knows? But if we can inspire a few people, that works too. So we're having fun.
That's awesome, man. And how have you been? How's life been in the last year with you with all the craziness that's gone on in the world with the pandemic and everything?
Guys, from a personal standpoint, it really hasn't affected me too much. I go about my business. I do what I do. I do my job. And I think, obviously the price of lumber has gone up. There's some things that are hard to get. Some parts are hard to get. And so there's been maybe a delay in supplies and materials, but from a personal standpoint, it really hasn't affected me much. Do I have to wear a mask when I go in stores and restaurants? Yes, but we all do, right? Big deal. Other than that, it really hasn't affected me too much. I got the vaccination. I'm not too stressed. Play it safe, and that's it. I like to be home anyway. I like to work at my shop, so I'm not around a bunch of people all the time. From a personal standpoint, it hasn't really affected me too bad. Thank God, because I know it's really hit other people hard in many different areas, finance and health and things like that. So for those people, I feel very fortunate that I've been okay.
Definitely. And so let's get into your wrestling career. It progressed pretty quickly. We go straight into WCW. Tag team with Sean Stacey at the Perfect Event. He had a big feud with Kronik. That was one of your first big programs. Talk about working with Brian Clark and Brian Adams, because they were huge at the time. They were one
they were getting
the bigger things.
Time. Brian Adams, fantastic guy. Taught me a few things. Good person, funny guy, great guy to be around. So I had fun with him. The other guy I didn't really know too much about. Didn't really spend any time with him other than what we did inside the ring. But good experience. Great experience. Unfortunately, Brian's no longer with us, Brian Adams. But not a bad thing to see. Good guy. Good guy.
And you had an absolutely awesome match at Bash at the Beach 2000 for the tag titles, where they won the tag titles from you. Do you have any specific memories from that match? Because that was absolutely awesome.
Well, I appreciate that, but honestly, I don't, because if you didn't just bring that up, I would have. I don't really. I mean, now going back, that you sparked my memory a little bit. I remember, that we had that match, but if I can't remember the details. I'm one of those guys where I don't really remember the towns or the matches. I remember more of the camaraderie with the guys I lived with day to day. I remember that aspect of it.
And just go back before that, actually, you worked a singles program against Lex Luger early on. And you worked with him later on as well. When he was in the Totally Buff tag team with Bagwell. What are your memories of working with Lex?
Lex is the character. You know, I was very fortunate to basically be fresh and he was one of the top guys, right? So
Yeah.
here I am, a new guy, very green. And I got to work with him. Now, he wasn't a in-ring technician, but he knew how to make money in the business. So I picked up, not that he was just, you know, I picked up from him. There's a few things I picked up from him, and he was very successful for a long time, and he had the game figured out. So yeah, I learned a bit from him. Again, not so much inside the ring, but then again, you know, you pick up different things from different people. If you remember, Liz was his valet. Wonderful person, sweet person, legend. If you think about it, even at that time, she had turned Randy Savage, right? I mean, you're talking about someone who at the time was actually already a legend in the business. If you think about it now, so just to have the opportunity to work with those talents was really fantastic. I couldn't believe at the time I was actually doing it. So yeah, good stuff.
Definitely. And so you moved on and into the Natural Born Thrillers group, and God, that was absolutely awesome. That was one of the hotter things in WCW at the time. Talk about kind of the relationship with the guys and kind of the standout moments that you had as part of the group.
Yeah, well, you know, I want to thank you for, you know, I appreciate those comments. That group of guys, we all started from the same place, from the power plant. Now we were not guys that were brought in. We weren't Goldbergs and stuff like that who were kind of, you know, just kind of like fed into the business. We were guys who struggled to break into the business. We didn't have a connection. We didn't know people on the outside. We worked very hard to get out of the power plant and to get contracts and to get on live, you know, mainstream television. So we all knew what it took to get there, and we stuck together. And to be able to have the opportunity to all work together on TV was fantastic. We were having a great time. We couldn't believe it that we were all working together. All those guys were exceptional talents. If you look back now and look at the way they moved and worked, we were ahead of our time.
Definitely. And
at the time, the things we were doing athletically would be in comparison to what the guys do now. You know, we were athletic. Because remember, there was a transition there, right? We were at that transition point where the business wasn't ready for that yet. At least the majority of the guys in the business were working a different style. And then we came in very green, didn't know a lot about the psychology, but we knew how to move in the ring, and we kind of, you know, stepped it up from an athletic standpoint. So I thought it was a great time. Unfortunately, the business was getting ready to go through an incredible transition. And so we had to survive that. So that push didn't last as long as we would have liked it to. And Vince did not continue with that group, which I'm telling you, that group at the time, that stable of guys would have been very successful if they continued with them and gave them the push that they deserved. I don't know what you think, but.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because it was really one of the standout things that was happening at the time, because WCW, I think in 2000, even in 99, had kind of gone downhill a little bit. And like when I think back to 2000, the two standout things for me are Natural Born Thrillers and Kronik. Like they were the two top acts, I think. Like so, because they were completely new and fresh, and because it had been a lot of like the NWO kind of recycled for a couple of years. So you were so new and fresh, and like you were bringing that new, more athletic style in. So no, I totally agree with you on that for sure. And so just before we get into the WWE transition, he worked with Kevin Nash and DDP as well. That's one of my fonder memories actually from that time as well. That angle was quite cool. What are your memories of working with Kevin and Dallas?
Fantastic. Kevin Nash especially, you know, smart guy, funny guy. He's a character, funny guy, intelligent guy. Knew how to navigate his way through the business. But Kevin gave us an opportunity, right? Kevin was willing to work with us. We were green guys. A lot of the old timers didn't want to work with us. Kevin wanted to work with us, taught us a lot, inside and outside the ring. We had a lot of great times with him. So just a lot of fun. I mean, everything from, you know, the matches to the travel and the road life. We learned a lot from Kevin, had a lot of fun with him. He's a good person, and I really appreciated what he did for us. And then, you know, Dallas jumped on board a bit too. He's a character in his own mind, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he you know, thanks to him too, he helped out a lot too, and supported us. There's another guy too who we didn't work with at all really, but a guy who was just great as far as supporting us and teaching us was Kurt Hennig.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Kurt Hennig was a big supporter of ours, very friendly, taught us a lot. A lot of people probably don't know that, but he was a big fan of all of us, all the Thrillers, what we were doing. So, and there was a handful of other guys too, but yeah, Kev was Scott Steiner too. I got to work with Scotty early on. You know, he's a very close friend of mine to this day. So, yeah, very fortunate at that time in the industry to work with guys who were on that level and had that type of experience.
Definitely, like that's an all-star cast like that you just mentioned there. Yeah. So that's absolutely amazing. And you actually had the last WCW Tag Team title match in WCW on the final Nitro. What are your memories of that night? The whole simulcast thing with Raw and Vince and everything with it, and I imagine it was turmoil behind the scenes then as well. What are your memories of that night?
Very surreal night, very surreal time. If you really think about it, I mean, to beat, and I wasn't part of that, but to beat the WWF in ratings for 86 or so weeks straight, and then the WCW downfall, they call it a downfall, right? Was it really a downfall? Or, you know, we don't know. But to get bought out, and then the actual night of the transition to have Shane McMahon walk in our locker room, and to have Jerry Briscoe and whoever else was in the gorilla position. Yeah, it was crazy because there were a lot of unanswered questions, right? So, number one, are they going to keep us? Right. Number two, if they do keep us, from a talent standpoint, what are they going to do with us? Now you have double the roster, but the same amount of TV time. How are you going to fit us in? How are the egos going to be? Are they going to clash or are they going to gel? A lot of questions. Are we going to have jobs? This is the biggest one, right? Are we going to have jobs? Because you know the business. They can end like that. It can end like in a flash. So anyway, that night was incredible. Got to wrestle with Lance Storm, Mike Awesome, with myself and Sean over here. Unfortunately, two of those gentlemen are no longer with us today, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy to think.
Gosh.
And in this industry, you know, we've lost so many nice people, good people, and so it's only Lance and myself are the only ones left out of that group. And but great guys, had fun in that match. Lance Storm, great gentleman, a very intelligent gentleman, taught me a lot. Good person. So I had fun. I had a lot of time. We worked a lot together actually for a while. We worked against each other in tags, and always had a great time with him. But fortunately, we were taken right away, right? So myself, Sean O'Hare, a few of the other guys. Obviously, we weren't getting this. We were making really good money, but we weren't making like this crazy money that some of these guys were making. So we came over right away. And got thrown in the mix right away, which was great. The only problem with that is they could have done a better job with the transition. Now, think about the opportunity they had, right? They just bought the WCW. Why kill it off?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the transition was a failure. If you look at it as a whole, the business went into a real slump. You had all this talent. And that was partly due to a couple of things. Now, don't get me wrong. Vince is, you know, obviously very successful, very intelligent man. But you have wrestlers from two different organizations who are kind of competition, right? Let's put this aside. Let's bond. Let's bond together and work together, befriend each other, and become, a team. And I think it would have worked out a lot better. From a business standpoint, now when I say business, I'm talking dollars and cents business standpoint.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
And from a wrestling industry standpoint, I think it would have been more successful. But at the same time, from a personal standpoint, I mean, what a time to be in the business. Just the craziness of it. To be a part of that and to experience that life experience, that'll never happen again. It's not going to happen again. So to be a part of that transition was incredible, and I'm glad I was a part of it.
Yeah, it was an amazing time for sure. It was really, really interesting, and he actually got to work with Undertaker and Kane early on in that whole mix. Talk about working with Taker and Kane at the time.
Good guys. Always had a great time working with them. The first time that the tag team, this match I do remember somewhat. Tag team title match, cage match. I had never bladed before. I had never bladed. It was the first time I bladed, and actually Taker bladed for me. He actually caught me. I hadn't done that before, so that was a little different. That was weird. But so yeah, first time I had bladed. One of the few times I ever bladed, and he actually did it for me and taught me how to do it. The other thing I remember about that match is, Sean and I are young, energetic, and excited to be out there and show the world our stuff, right? So we're trying to get all our moves in. So Kane and Taker are good about it. So in front of the live crowd, right? Obviously, it was taped, right? Taped in front of a live audience. Because I want to say, was it on Smackdown?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was on Smackdown.
Taped. If it was on SmackDown, it was taped. But I remember having that match and remembering, oh man, I got all my, I got my moves in. I worked with Taker and Kane. Sean got his stuff and we worked together. Worked out great. And then we watched it on TV because I wanted to watch that match because I was excited. I watched it on TV and I was like, wait a minute, that's not what happened. So they edited so much of it and they cut out so much of our offense. So by the time we saw it on TV, we were like, oh man. So I learned a lot that day. I learned a lot that day about the business. And but still again, happy to have the opportunity to get to work with those guys. But the match you saw on TV wasn't the match that happened. So
I bet. That's awesome.
But good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So what led to your departure and then you coming back with the biker gimmick then later on when the brand split had happened, you came back to SmackDown with the biker gimmick?
Yeah. Well, there were a lot of transitions before that. We did the Billy and Chuck character, and then the FBI character, and then came back, with the bike. The bike was cool because the image, not the personality, but the image was an extension of myself and my personal life and what I do. Right. Yeah. I was very much into the motorcycle culture since a child. So that was kind of cool. It got the character itself and the writing, I believe, got distasteful at the end with the beating up of the women and the crazy psycho jealous boyfriend. I think it was a little bit over the top, and I really wasn't crazy about the character at that point. I think the character could have been a lot more, but it's business. Everything happens for a reason, and it was a good opportunity. I got to go out and do it. But not only that, because I was transitioning out of the business at that point. I knew I signed a 2-year contract in 2006. I knew that was probably the end for me. So I figured to myself, if I can get my motorcycle stuff in a bit and get some motorcycle exposure when I transition to what I do on the outside, because I had been doing bikes for a long time and cars and stuff. As I transitioned to that, I could use that exposure. I remember I laugh about it sometimes. I was wearing my shop T-shirt with my shop website and phone number on TV during my matches, and no one picked up on it, at least from the backstage group. As far as I know, it didn't get edited out. I was wearing them on TV, and I'm like, all right, let me roll with this. It's working, you know. So at that point, I was really thinking about my future. If I had the opportunity to stay in the business longer, if something was worthwhile, maybe I would have done it. But at the same time, I was getting tired of the road life travel. And unfortunately, some of my close friends had passed away, and I wasn't having the fun I was having before. You know, we lost Sean O'Haire. We lost Jerry Toot. Do you remember Jerry Toot, the Wall from WCW?
Oh, yeah. I actually saw him wrestle over here in 2002. He was wrestling as Malice at the time.
Malice, for that guy. Yeah. He was like a Taker plus. That guy had so much untapped potential. That guy he was one of my best friends. But anyway, him, Sean O'Haire, Eddie Guerrero, you know, so I wasn't as excited about it anymore. But again, I was just starting to think about my future, and I was still young. I think I was 36 roughly, give or take. So I was young, and I had, you know, my whole life ahead of me. So yeah, it was more about preparation at that point.
Talk about the Billy and Chuck run, and God, the wedding. Like I can still remember that like it was yesterday. Like we got Smackdown over here on. Wasn't shown until like Saturday mornings over here, and I was watching it with my cousin. We would have been about 11 or 12 at the time, and when Bischoff does that reveal, like we just, you know, hopped out of our chairs. Like it was so well done. Like talk about the run and that moment and how that all came about.
Well, number one, it took everybody to make that happen, right? It took those talent. Took Billy Gunn. It took Eric Bischoff. It took Stephanie McMahon. It took those people to make that work. So a lot of great talent. So it wouldn't have happened without them. But it's a character, right? It's a character. Why not take that character and have fun with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Billy and I were not gay. Okay, but what does that matter, right? If you are or not. Had fun with the character. We're playing a part. At the end of the day, say what you want to say. We're not the greatest actors, but we are actors. Every one of those wrestlers are actors. So let's play the part. And we had fun with it every day. We laughed. And I think when people genuinely, well, I should say, when people see that you are genuine out there, when they look at you and they see you laughing and having a good time, what they're thinking in the back of their minds, and you may agree, these guys are having fun. These guys are having fun.
Yeah, it translates.
It translates, and when people see that, it works. So it worked. That character, you know, honestly, they created that character. You may have not known this, but they created it to peak out with the wedding or ceremony during ratings week. That was the whole idea, is to get that to peak out during ratings week. That's the timing behind that, and it worked. We were the #1 rated show that night on cable television.
Wow!
And that's what that was all about. And that's why it disbanded so quickly later. Also, Billy had gotten hurt too, but those characters, I believe, they were just starting. They were just breaking the ice. They could have went a long way if they had decided to go with that. Because if you think about the time, that was cutting edge. The storyline, same, because when it comes down to it, what is it really about? Was it same-sex marriage? I mean, that storyline was cutting edge. Today, not so much, right? But at that time, it was cutting edge. So fun, easy money.
Well, thanks so much for your time today, Chuck. It's been absolutely awesome having you on. So everybody, check out Chuck of All Trades on YouTube.
And then
thanks again.
My Instagram is just Chuck Palumbo. So that's all I got.
Awesome. Thanks so much again, man. Take care.
I appreciate it. You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning into Pro Wrestling Defined on YouTube. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to keep up with all future content. And please follow Pro Wrestling Defined on Twitter, Instagram, and like us on Facebook.